Karen's voice was a sledgehammer, shattering the quiet of my Wednesday morning. 72 hours. Sweetheart, or you're out, she bellowed, waving a flimsy piece of paper she claimed was an eviction notice from the HOA. Her smug grin, framed by over-bleached hair and a tacky leopard print scarf, made my stomach churn. She was the self-appointed queen of Sunnyvale Estates, a gated community where her word was law, so she thought. I stood on my porch, coffee mug trembling in my hand, as she loomed over me, her bulk casting a shadow across my welcome mat. The notice demanded I sell my home for violating some obscure HOA rule about aesthetic noncompliance. My crime: a single rosebush I'd planted to honor my late mother. The audacity was almost laughable, but the threat felt like a noose. Karen, the HOA president, had a reputation for bullying residents into submission with her endless rules and fake documents. Last month, she'd fined Mr. Jenkins for his dog's unauthorized barking. Now, she'd set her sights on me, Claire Thompson, a single mom scraping by after a messy divorce. My small, cozy house was all I had left, a sanctuary for me and my daughter, Lily. Selling it in 3 days wasn't just impossible. It was cruel. I wasn't alone in my outrage. My neighbor, Jamal, a soft-spoken mechanic with a knack for spotting lies, overheard Karen's tirade and stepped onto his lawn. That notice looks like it was printed at Kinko's, he said, squinting at the paper. Karen's face reddened, her jowls quivering as she snapped, "Mind your business, or you're next." But Jamal wasn't fazed. He pulled out his phone, recording her every word, his calm defiance a stark contrast to her bluster. Across the street, Mrs. Alvarez, a retired librarian with a sharp tongue, joined us, her arms crossed. "You can't evict someone over a rosebush, Karen. This isn't your personal kingdom." The confrontation escalated as Karen doubled down, her voice rising to a screech. "This neighborhood's gone to the dogs since people like you moved in." She spat, jabbing a finger at me. The words stung, but they also lit a fire. I wasn't some pushover she could intimidate. I'd spent years rebuilding my life after my ex left us with nothing. Karen's fake eviction notice wasn't just an attack on my home, it was an attack on my dignity. That night, I couldn't sleep. Lily, sensing my stress, curled up beside me, asking why the mean lady hated us. I didn't have an answer, but I had a plan. I called my cousin, Sarah, a paralegal who knew her way around property law. She laughed when I read her the notice. "This is a joke, Claire. No HOA can enforce a sale like this. Let's dig into Sunnyvale's bylaws." By morning, Sarah had uncovered a gold mine. Karen had been forging documents for years, exploiting vague HOA rules to extort residents. The Rosebush Rule. It didn't exist. Karen had made it up to target me after I'd challenged her at the last HOA meeting over her plan to ban backyard barbecues. Armed with this, I rallied Jamal and Mrs. Alvarez. We scoured public records, finding complaints from former residents Karen had bullied into selling their homes at a loss. One name stood out, Mr. Patel, who'd moved away after Karen fined him for unapproved paint colors. His story was eerily similar to mine, and he was eager to help. "She cost me my home," he said over the phone, his voice thick with regret. "Don't let her win." The next day, Karen returned, this time with a tow truck she'd hired to repossess my car for parking violations. The driver, a nervous kid barely out of high school, looked confused as Jamal and I confronted Karen in the driveway. You've got no legal grounds for this, I shouted, holding up Sarah's research. The tow truck driver backed off, muttering apologies. But Karen was unfazed. You'll regret crossing me, she hissed, storming off. Her confidence was maddening, but it was also her downfall. She didn't know we'd already contacted a lawyer. Ms. Denise Carter, a no-nonsense attorney who specialized in HOA disputes. Denise was a godsend. She filed an emergency injunction to halt Karen's eviction attempt, citing fraud and abuse of power. The court hearing was set for the following week. But Karen wasn't done. She spread lies on the neighborhood's private Facebook group, claiming I was a squatter who'd forged my deed. The post got 47 likes, mostly from her cronies, but it also backfired. Residents started sharing their own Karen horror stories in the comments. One woman wrote about Karen fining her for excessive holiday lights. Another mentioned a $500 penalty for unapproved mailbox designs. The tide was turning. The courtroom was packed on the hearing day. Karen sat at the defendant's table, her usual swagger replaced by a nervous twitch. Denise presented our evidence, forged documents, contradictory HOA bylaws, and testimonies from 5 former residents, including Mr. Patel. The judge, a stern woman with zero patience for nonsense, wasn't impressed with Karen's defensive rambling tirade about community standards. When Denise revealed Karen had been pocketing fines in a personal account, the courtroom gasped. Jamal's video of Karen's eviction stunt sealed the deal. This is extortion, the judge declared, slamming her gavel. The ruling was a bombshell. Not only was Karen's eviction notice voided, but the court found her liable for fraud, emotional distress, and financial damages. The HOA was ordered to pay me $50,000 a month in court-mandated rent for my home until the case was fully resolved, a symbolic middle finger to Karen's reign of terror. The judge also barred her from holding any HOA position ever again. As Karen stormed out, muttering about an appeal, Mrs. Alvarez whispered to me, "Karma's a beautiful thing." The aftermath was surreal. The HOA, now under new leadership, issued a public apology and rewrote its bylaws to prevent future abuse. Residents threw a block party to celebrate, with Jamal grilling burgers and Lily passing out lemonade. I kept my rosebush, now a neighborhood symbol of resistance. Karen, meanwhile, faced mounting legal fees and a class action lawsuit from other residents. Rumor had it she was selling her own house to cover the costs. Poetic justice, I thought. Looking back, I realized this wasn't just about a rosebush or a fake eviction notice. It was about standing up to bullies who hide behind power and paperwork. Karen thought she could break me, but she underestimated the strength of a community fed up with her tyranny. My home, once a target, became a beacon of hope for Sunnyvale. Lily planted a new rosebush next to mine, her small hands patting the soil with pride. "For Grandma," she said, smiling. I hugged her tight, knowing we'd fought for more than a house, we'd fought for our right to belong. The end.